Today, I would like to discuss this topic, which is very close to every business, and it's one of the most important aspect of any of the businesses, if not the most important aspect, which is customer data. And what we will cover today is just a little bit about what are the different types of customer data that exist today. Things have evolved in many profound ways in the last few years and almost little more than a decade, where we are seeing so many different types of customer data evolving and new types of customer data coming into play as well. So just a short snapshot on putting in some simple spotlight on what are those different types of customer data that exist. There are various ways in which people define customer data types. There are ways in which people say it's the first party customer data. Is it the second party customer data? Is it the third party customer data? But it depends on who's defining those different customer data types. Sometimes the businesses have to define it from the compliance and legal perspective. Sometimes they need to understand what kind of customer data can be used in whatever ways, and that really defines the types of the customer data for the business. There are other ways in which some of the businesses define the customer data, which is, whether it's the identity customer data, is it the descriptive customer data, is it the qualitative customer data, or is it the quantitative customer data? And there are different uh, subcategories of the customer data types in these four categories. So that's another way of defining the customer data type. I won't go into the details of those definitions or the categories right now. But the way we look at customer data types is very simple. One is the demographical data of the customer, and the second is the behavioral data of the customer. In our opinion, these are the two simple customer data types that exist for any businesses in the world. So the way you look at the demographical data for the customers is, their age, their gender, um, their income, their household type, their marital status, where do they live, geographical location. Some of these parameters or the attributes of the customer define that demographical data type. Now, this data doesn't change very often. It does change, but it changes slowly, and it has a lot of profound meaning in how you would utilize this particular data. We are not going into the details of how to use the customer data, which we'll keep covering in many other videos, but these are the demographical attributes of the customer uh, that you want to track, you want to store, you want to hold in your database about your customer. So that's one of the customer data type, which is the demographical customer data type. The other customer data type is the behavioral customer data type. Now, this is quite a vast topic. The whole um, behavior of the customer could be defined in many different ways. It can be broken down in so many different ways as well. And this is the area of the data which is changing all the time. It's evolving. There are so many different types of behavioral data that has been generated in the past. But you can imagine, things like how the customer has been responding to your campaigns. What exactly are their social sentiments? What are their transactions with your products and services and with your brands? What exactly are their preferences? How they want to communicate with you, or how they want you to be communicating with them. What exactly are the hobbies or the psychographics data that you may have about your customers? So the list goes on and on here for the behavioral customer data type. But all of these activities that customer is demonstrating is your behavioral customer data type. When exactly this customer data type, the behavioral customer data type, becomes more useful, more contextual, and more meaningful is when you put in the lens of the sector on that customer data type. So as soon as you talk about a specific business, as soon as you start talking about a particular sector, then your behavioral customer data type would change quite significantly. It all depends on whether you are an e-commerce business, for example, Amazon, eBay, other websites where you're selling something to your customers or through your websites. That particular e-commerce data is a lot about what kind of products they have been buying, what kind of products they have been researching, what kind of products they have been returning, what are they browsing overall on your website. And that gives you a lot of information about what the behavior of that customer is going to be. If you're talking to a customer who has bought a boiler from you, then that looks their behavior might look very different. You might have had some kind of IoT sensors as well in the boilers, and you can track some of the usage and how boiler has been performing and how they have been using the boiler over time. If you talk to the healthcare sector, and specifically if you go to the gyms, then all of their patterns about when exactly they come to the gym, how long do they spend in the gym, what kind of machines are they using, and you could deploy all of those very high tech um, uh, technology solutions in your gyms as well to track all of their behavior as well. So it all depends on the behavioral customer data type, really depends on the sector and how your business is going to be consuming all of that customer data. And that really defines a kind of a almost a profile of that customer behavioral data that you would store as a business. So these are the two different data types for the customers, I would say. One is the demographics, which doesn't change as often, but you need to have that information in place, and it really gives you a very good segmentation of the customer. And then all of the behavioral aspects of the customer, which depends really on the sector, the kind of products that you are selling, the kind of services that you are selling, and what is that profile of the behavioral elements of the customer that you want to track. So these are the two different customer data types that a business would have all the time, and they must really take very good care of it.